What's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co-host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
This is Talib Jasir, founder and CEO of Afros and Audio, and I want to personally invite you, yes, you, to the 4th annual Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, October 22nd and 23rd at the Warwick Rittenhouse Square Hotel in Philadelphia. Don't miss this 2-day conference for and by Black independent podcast creatives and audio professionals. Visit bit.ly AFAU Fest 22 to learn more.
Greetings and welcome back to Q Points. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, people?
You are tuned into your favorite Black music podcast, Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. Jay Ray, what a week it has been. First and foremost, how are you?
Oh my goodness, I am so good. We have so many amazing things that we can't talk about right now that have been happening with this here show. And yeah, I am so good. How are you, Sir Daniel?
I share your excitement. I share the bubbling underneath that we can't express just yet. But just know, folks, that it is all good around here. We are truly blessed. And yeah, I'm happy to be here again talking with you regarding this week's topic. We've got quite a few things to catch up on, though. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Academy, the Black Podcasting Awards was this past Sunday. And Jay Ray, we were up for Best Black Music Podcast. We did not win. However, now I understand why people say it's still an honor to be nominated, because it really felt dope to be in the room.
Absolutely. One, shout out to the Black Podcasters Awards. I want to definitely shout out Demetrius Bagley and the amazing Latrice Sampson Richards. My goodness, for holding it down as the host for the event. Latrice, you are a master. And literally, I was studying you. So we are a fan over here at Q Points. So yeah, it was definitely amazing being in the room. We were nominated with Red Cup Confidential, and the winner is Mr. Al Pete with the amazing The Tables Might Wobble podcast. If y'all haven't heard that show, go and listen because it's truly dope. And we couldn't be like, it's an honor, bro, that we was just being able to be up there with you.
Absolutely. And so Jay Ray and I, we're going to keep, this train is going to stay on the track, and we are the little engine that could, and we're going to keep chugging along until we take home one of those bad boys.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, as you can see, Jay Ray, I'm representing tonight over here because I'm going to stand up so y'all can see this. Y'all know what the vibes are. You know what the vibe is. Barbados, and I'm representing for Barbados tonight because the announcement came over this weekend. Also, that my girl, Robin Fenty, is going to be the Super Bowl halftime performer. That is major. That is major, especially considering the whole Navy has been salivating for new music for over 3 years now.
Bruh. Listen, shout out to Rihanna and her team.
Yes.
To not be doing the music thing visibly, right, in the public space for as many years as it's been, and to come back on the Super Bowl stage, that is boss. Okay.
Crazy.
And yes, Wani, shout out to Wani who is with us. It will absolutely be interesting. I am dying to see. Rihanna has so many hits.
The catalog is ridiculous. The catalog is crazy. She's got it. She's gonna take us from the hood to the raves to the slow songs, all of it. She's got it completely covered. So we're gonna be Dutty whining, all of that stuff in front of the whole world at Super Bowl 23, right? Is that what?
Oh no, this is I don't know what Super Bowl. Let me look. What Super Bowl is it? Which Super Bowl? We don't watch the Super Bowl.
Myself by saying that,
I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't even know what LV double I is. It's that
if anybody's in the chat knows, please drop it in the chat. We're not too proud to say that we're not the most, athletically inclined people over here. We're not into sports. If you didn't know that by now. But I am going to be there for Rihanna shaking the table at the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited about that. Over the weekend, also in Atlanta, was the Revolt Summit.
Yep. Yeah. Revolt Summit happened in Atlanta. This, I believe, was their first year back in person. And so they were in Atlanta. And normally, I try and keep up with all the things that are kind of happening. And typically there are kind of these big flashy moments that happen at Revolt. There is this one clip that I did bring that I wanted to play from Master P that I was really kind of spoke to me. And I want to play that real quick and then we can come back and chat.
Same thing. I could tell who you are by the people you hang with. I tell people all the time, I'd rather fly with the eagles than walk with the pigeons. And sometimes eagles got to fly alone. Most of the time they're flying alone because everybody don't believe in your dreams and your goals. I mean, when I was growing up, a lot of people told me, man, you ain't going to make it. Even people close to me like, man, that shit ain't going to work. I'm like, damn, you ain't even give me a chance. They was telling me, man, you ain't no Tupac, you ain't no Biggie Smalls. I said, damn, I know I'm from the South, but I'm going to make this happen. So I kept chasing my dream and my goals. So I'm telling y'all, you got to find your niche. And the way you reinvent yourself, don't be afraid to grow up. Don't be afraid to make the right investments. And don't be afraid to invest in yourself. So it starts from there.
Yeah, that spoke to me.
Listen, say what you want about Master P. Has he given us like bars?
Oh, no.
That's up for debate. But he has definitely made his mark on hip hop, especially when it comes to the music, the business and the branding side of this music business we call hip hop. So, and anything he says is worth listening to. You'd be a fool not to take, advantage or to learn something from the gems that he drops.
No, completely agree. Yeah, that definitely, I think that idea of continuing on and believing in yourself, and pursuing your dream is so critical. One of the questions that I have, and I don't think it's for this show or this particular night of show, but I am curious, like how people receive when it's that many people in a room, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
people receive messages? I know that for me, I I like intimate spaces. I've never been to like a talk where there's like a bunch of people in a room and they're like giving me a message or whatever. But Revolt is such a huge event, right? It's a thing that people go to for networking and for their careers,
Yeah.
etc. So I am curious to know how messages get received. So for folks that are listening to this show or even that are watching, if you've been and if let us know your thoughts, because have you been to the Revolt Summit, Sir Daniel?
I have not been to Revolt. However, back in like the 90s, I had gone to different conferences that came to Atlanta. The names escape me. I think there was something like it was Rap Sheet had put on one, because back in the day there was like this little newspaper called Rap Sheet,
Mm-hmm.
and they were a part of that. And then there was another one that I had met, the older white lady that is well known throughout the industry. I can't think of her name right now. But anyway, I've been to a couple,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, this was before, before social media, before all of, the internet was really taking over,
Mm-hmm.
and people were very receptive. you
Awesome.
know people were very hungry and eager to listen and to learn, of course, because they paid their money. People would come from out of town to be a part of these things
Mm-hmm.
because you wanted to be seen, you wanted to get your music in the right person's hand, because everybody has heard of all the magical stories that have taken place of how people were discovered. So, and then of course Atlanta became the Mecca, the holy land when it comes to being discovered. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was my experience. Just a couple times that I went, and matter of fact, it was because of a good friend of mine, Audra. She would take me under her wing and be like, "Hey, come on, Sir Daniel, let's
Mm-hmm.
go to this music thing because I know you want to be in the industry." Blah blah blah. So
Nice.
yeah, it was a really good time
That's
back
dope.
then. Really good time, but I am looking forward to the end of October because
Ooh.
we will be at I will be attending my very first podcast festival, the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival,
Yes.
October 22nd through the 23rd. And I'll be coming up there to good old Philly to see what the kids are talking about in podcast land, see where we land and what and learn some new information. So I'm excited about that, J Ray.
Absolutely. Afros and Audio is an amazing opportunity for podcasters. In particular, it's of course for Black podcasters, right? It's an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for us to come together and learn from one another. When you go to these, so take a step back. Of course, I went to Podcast Movement. We talked about that. I went in March, and it is a primarily white space, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, but it's a primarily white space, right?
Yeah.
So Afros and Audio gives us an opportunity for us to teach us, because Black folks presenting at Podcast Movement were an exception, right? So I was one of the presenters, but I was definitely part of a smaller list. Whereas you go here and it's all us teaching each other. So I'm excited, one, to have you in Philly, because that's
I'm
gonna be
saying.
dope. You're gonna be here in Philly, gonna be in my neck of the woods. And I'm excited to experience, because I've never been to Afros and Audio either. So this is gonna be, and I am a participant. I am not volunteering. I'm not working.
Mm-mm.
I'm not doing
Mm-mm.
any of that. I'm going to go to
Nope.
sessions and sit next to people and like annoy them, just like a conference. That's what I'm going to do.
Yes. That's I'm here. Listen, me and you both, and yeah, we gonna put a dent in Philly and see what it's
Mm-hmm.
giving, as the kids say. Speaking of Philadelphia, we want to give a shout out and send some love to the Queen of Philadelphia, Patti LaBelle. I'm sure you all see all the footage of her performing, and mid concert, Patty clearly was not feeling well, and J Ray, because J Ray hadn't seen it, y'all.
I have not seen it at all. So I'm just learning about this.
So of course, Patty was in the middle of performing, and she kind of turned her back to the crowd, and she was kind of motioning to her people like, I'm not feeling too well.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wasn't singing, so that was the first sign. She played it off as much as she could, then finally she couldn't sing anymore. And so here's what I love. They pointed to one of the background singers, and the background singer, she flew into action. She came down from the rafter and she started singing to keep the show going. Because at this point, Patti LaBelle vomited on stage, which was, for those of us that have this particular image of Patti LaBelle, that was jarring. It was jarring to see her sick. It was jarring to see her, projectile vomiting, because she's glam, she's glamorous, and that was not a glamorous moment for her. But her handlers got her off stage. The background singer sang her face off and entertained the crowd. And I think she sang the whole song. And within those few minutes, Patti LaBelle came back with a vengeance and closed out the show and just did her thing. So shout out to you, Patti LaBelle, being a consummate performer and professional, and just showing these kids how it's done.
That's it. Like, the reality is things happen, but you have to have people on your team that are able to troubleshoot and be ready to step in at all times. One of the things, so this is behind the veil a little bit, but even with CMP, we do that. So if we have an event and they're like, okay, if you the heavy, Johnny, you the backup. So you running the Zoom on the backup, and if my internet go out, pop on that camera, let's go.
Yep.
Right from where the people stopped. So being ready is so key. So for artists who are watching Q Points tonight, be ready.
Look, as the late Chichi Devane say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Boom.
That's it. In sad news, of course, we lost Coolio.
Yes.
Grammy award-winning rap artist. Did a lot to propel hip hop even further in pop standings amongst the in the music industry. Of course, with his he won for Gangsta's Paradise in 1996, right? Best rap performance in 1996. Yeah. Sad to say. Listen, J. Ray, he was only 59.
It's young.
And this is yet another, there's like a roster, an ever increasing roster of black men checking out before they're right in the middle of their prime.
Yeah.
59 is young.
59 is
very
young.
I mean, we've gone through DMX, Ecstasy, Biz Markie, Prince Markie, the list goes on. And, the common denominator is these are all black men.
Yeah. Of course, they have not publicly revealed how Coolio passed away. But yeah, 59 is young. And I think the beautiful thing is, Sir Daniel, we can say he truly left his mark. Like, he truly left his mark. Coolio, from a look standpoint, he had such a unique, the hair was like a whole thing. And we might have clowned it at the time, but it made him stand out. And that was one of the things that you had to do. You had to be able to stand out from all the other dudes in LA that was rapping, right? And not only that, he walked that line between hip hop and pop, and he was unafraid to do that, because he emerged in the early to mid 90s, which was a time where that could be considered selling out, but he paved the way for hip hop to be a pop juggernaut. With Gangsta's Paradise and Fantastic Voyage. I'll never forget that video. First of all, Gangsta's Paradise was everywhere. I just know.
Because it was from the Dangerous Minds soundtrack, right?
Yes. Yep, with Michelle Pfeiffer, big movie. Michelle Pfeiffer.
I want to hear all about it. That part always tickled me. She was so serious. You're black and I'm white and I want to learn from you. We love those kinds of movies, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right, J Ray. And when people like Coolio pass away, he was good people based on the tributes that his peers start posting and start sending out. He's getting so much love from both the East and the West Coast, all around the world. So there's nothing much else to say except rest in paradise and gangsters paradise, Coolio.
Mm-hmm.
And men, brothers, please take care of your health, please.
Yes.
We got to be around here much longer. We all seems like we capping out in our 50s, and we can't do that.
Yep.
We
Absolutely.
cannot do that because we want you around.
Mm-hmm.
We want you around because I we want you around, and this is going to sound selfish, but we want you around because J Ray and I are about to embark on a very special project that we want you to see because it's part of our history. Again, Key Points is dropping the needle on Black music history, and that includes country music.
Absolutely. Sir Daniel, we are the foundation of country music. And so, for those of you, and we'll make sure that we put the link in the description, but Big Mike, who joined us this summer to talk about his journey as a lover of country music and a on-air personality, black man as an on-air country personality. He joined Sir Daniel and I for what will be a 4-part series about black people in country. So we cover the history, we talk about the Charlie Pride, we talk about the film For Love and Country. I was about to say For Love of Country, but that's not it. It's For Love and Country. And we talk about black women, a few black women who have released country albums. We're not going to tell you what they are yet, but it's a really dope show and you need to tune in. So yeah, so what's going to be unique about this is me and Sir Daniel, we will not be live those weeks. Those weeks, you'll still get to watch the show. You'll still get to, hear from Q Points and all of that, but we will not be live. So you will be watching this next 4-part series over the next 4 weeks, starting next Thursday. And we're super excited for you to take in this history with us because we had fun doing this.
Absolutely. So yes, we may not be live, but you are not off the hook. You are still required to tune in and watch this series that we have coming up on black people in country music. So I'm very excited about that. Also, kind of and harking back to what we just were talking about regarding Coolio and all of these black superstars prematurely dying. Mm-hmm. There is a series of photographs called As If Nothing Happened that documents what some superstars, some mega stars of music would look like nowadays if they were alive, if they had not succumbed. And as J Ray just flashed up there, you saw Jimi Hendrix and Michael Jackson. And can we put it back up, just the picture back up real quick? So Jimi Hendrix kind of looks like Albert Einstein to me.
You're absolutely right. I absolutely agree. I hadn't thought about that, but you are absolutely right. And let me tell you something, like just looking at these pictures, oh my God, he looks like the wisest man in the world. Like, baby, I've seen it all and done it all. And then we have Michael. Pre-everything. This is like Michael immortalized from 1979.
Wow. I'm not mad at the Michael Jackson at all, actually. People were talking about the hair. And I really think this probably would have been what he would look like today. Except, there might be a little more silver. Mm-hmm. But I see it, yes, it's a little Dominican poppy, but it's still Michael. It's still Michael, and there were some other portraits that were created. And a lot of these photographs were created through artificial intelligence, J. Ray.
Yeah. We're about to talk about that. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, the artificial intelligence conversation is such an interesting one. So let's jump into that. So we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back and we're going to jump into this conversation that we are calling The Machines Are Coming and dive into this. So hold on. We're going to be right back.
Some of you may know me for writing hit songs for Brandy and Vanessa Williams. If you live in the Atlanta area, you may know me for my activism work or for being ringmaster with Kipper Jones R&B Circus. Soon you'll know me for hosting the upcoming podcast, Next Age. But what you may not know is I'm a prostate cancer survivor. And thanks to early screening and early detection, I was able to beat this disease. You see, there's a 96% survival rate thanks to early screening and early detection. And I am part of that 96%. I started getting screened in my early 40s because of my family history. And being unafraid, I knew that it could possibly save my life. And it did. Black men, I am encouraging you. It's time for you to become part of that 96%. Go visit your doctor. It could possibly save your life. I'm Kipper Jones.
We are back.
We are.
You know, J. Ray, I think from the beginning, as far as I can remember, as a kid growing up in the 80s, we have, and even before that, we have been fascinated with the future.
Absolutely.
We've been fascinated with the future. We've been fascinated with robots and robots doing things for us. You know, I grew up watching the Jetsons, and they had that maid,
Rosie,
Rosie, and they were talking on screens. They didn't have telephones anymore. They were doing like what we're doing now, and some of this stuff, literally, the future is literally now. But along with progress, there is some insidious and kind of creepy things that are happening. You know, we always talk about erasure here on Q Points and people being taken out of the picture or just being completely removed from history for their contributions, especially when it comes to music and music history. Well, now we are in a point now where a lot of mad scientists, I'll call them, are trying to erase people, period, from music and from the whole spectrum of everything. They're trying to make everything automated, even your favorite MC.
Yeah. So this conversation was, of course, sparked for folks who heard about the FN Meka or Meka, I don't know, child. It's one of the two. FN Meka is Meka. Whatever. FN Meka is a fictional rapper. I'm going to put a picture of FN Meka up. This is what FN Meka looks like. As you can see, FN Meka is an avatar. It is racially ambiguous, but we're assuming black because of the type of music that they create. They have tattoos on their face. They have green hair. They have a car grill as a chin. And they have, a rope chain or whatever. So this fictional rapper was developed by this person named Brandon Lee. It might be Brandon Lay. I'm not really sure. But in 2019, so FN Meka has been gaining a following on TikTok since 2020. FN Meka had millions of followers from 2020. And it was part of a company called Factory New, and there was this person by the name of Anthony Martini who joined and kind of became the face of the project. So what happened was, and blew this thing up, FN Meka dropped the song with Gunna and somebody else, and then Capitol Records signed this virtual rapper. The story was that all of the lyrics were written by AI, meaning that they fed the concepts, the songs into this program, and the program wrote the lyrics, and a person said what the AI wrote, and that's what they released. Well, child, as we all know, that didn't go very well. And people started to go back in time. It's like, wait, FN Meka is using the N-word. FN Meka is definitely giving me blackface. Who created this? And then we look, and of course it's a white man. It's two white men's faces appear as the face of this, right? So here is the breaking news. So here's breaking news, Sir Daniel. So this was reported on yesterday. Anthony Martini, who is white, had a band, a punk, no, it was like a metal hip hop band, whatever. He was apparently using the N-word all up in his old lyrics. And so the people have found his old lyrics. They dug up the hardcore band was called E-Town Concrete. They released 4 albums between 97 and 2004, and they pulled some of the lyrics. So this person, this white man, was already trafficking in racism, trafficking in blackface, and it looks like that certainly fed into FN Meka. So that, anyway, Capitol Records dropped FN Meka. It blew up. It was a whole mess. They shut everything down. Anthony Martini quit the company. It was a whole hot mess. And that's how we got here into this conversation of erasing of us from this.
Yeah. So one, of course, I'm not surprised by any of that.
Zero surprises.
There's no surprise there. You know, let's face it, white people will go to so extreme lengths to use the N-word. I don't know what it is about the N-word. They will create whole avatars and personas and create lyrics just so that they can say the N-word and benefit off of it and profit off of it, which is, white people have been profiting off of Black creativity since the beginning of time. So this is just an extension. So here we are. And I said this to you off air, J-Ray. I think a lot of us that participate in, the social medias, like, your TikToks and your Instagrams, where every time you take a picture or you thread a picture or a video of yourself, I believe that we are feeding the machine every time we use those things, and we feed it with our image, we feed it with our voices, because next thing you know, you've seen what a deep fake is, right?
Oh, and those things they seem so real.
And it's so creepy, but all they need to do is they can randomly take a clip of you anywhere, and they can create a deep fake, mimic your voice, and then have it programmed to say whatever they want. So there's a lot of ramifications for things like this down the line. I'm sure of it. This was just like the precursor to what is going to happen. There's going to be a lot more of this coming. And I will say this, the very first BET was the first to create an avatar using a lot of, remember Sita?
Yep, Sita. Yeah.
Sita was the first I guess 2D
Mm-hmm.
host of BET,
Yep.
and it didn't cost much to pay Sita.
Right.
They didn't have to fly her anywhere. They saved on wardrobe. All they had to do was, she had on the same black dress and everything, and all they had to do was have somebody voice her.
And what's so interesting about Sita, and maybe this is the case for animated things. Remember, we had problems with Sita. Sita was giving too much. It was like
Very hood.
she was real hood. It was the exaggeration of what black women at the time were portraying. Those black women certainly existed, but it wasn't what we largely saw. And Sita was doing a whole lot. It was a lot of lip popping and swaying and all of that. Now that's interesting that we've kind of moved into. Wow, it's almost like life imitating art in so many ways. I had not thought about that until now.
Full circle moment. It's like, oh, so yeah, it's like, oh, they must have forgot about that by now. Let's see if we can do it again and get away with it. And this time we're gonna have them rap. And so I guess this ties into, I hate bringing him up again, but last week, DJ Academics said what he said about rappers and the older generation of hip hop pioneers and foundation creators being dusty and washed up. And I think that those ideas, those attitudes towards older people, those attitudes towards people who create a foundation, and the attitude of not having any kind of respect for them or any kind of love for what they did, I think adds to the ease in which people can create a fictitious rap artist, an avatar of a rap artist. I think, people like an Academics who show no regard for the culture, because we still don't know exactly what he does. I think Charlemagne had him on the Breakfast Club earlier this week and straight up asked him, well, what have you done for the culture? What do you think your contribution is? Honestly, in transparency, I did not watch it, because I just didn't feel like feeding into it. I didn't really care. But I think people like an Academics that are very brazen and very forthcoming about those kinds of attitudes do those things, performative things, in front of, I'm just going to say, in front of white people who just want to capitalize on the culture. And he's like, oh yeah, that'll work. That's cool. Somebody like him will co-sign on an FN Meka because he really doesn't care or doesn't have any real regard for the art, in my opinion. And he's not the only one. I'm sure that there are others like that who will co-sign and let things like that slide.
First of all, I'm going to agree. I watched part of the Academics interview and I was like, oh, I'm going to come back to this. What was interesting is, at least my first reaction was that, oh, you do have interesting things to say. They get wrapped up in these sound bites and these packages. And one of the things I will say that he said that I found really interesting is he was like, the thing I said about rappers, rappers being dusty, etc., I've been saying that for like 3 years. Like, it wasn't a new thing that I said, but the internet picks and chooses when it gets upset about something, depending on who's watching. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing where this person has kind of been allowed to have this conversation over time. So that was one point. But going back to this idea of being allowed, like people being allowed to kind of have these conversations, I think this is an opportunity for us to reset this in some sort of way, and hopefully using this DJ Academics incident as a way to reset all of this and make sure I'm excited about technology. Point blank, period. I am interested in technological innovations. Love that. I'm not interested in technology replacing people.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't like.
Yeah. I think I've seen way too many horror movies. There is this movie, and I can't, for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it, but I remember seeing it as a child. And it was very advanced. There was this man who had created this computer.
Mm-hmm.
And what the computer did is much like anybody that has an Alexa or a Siri. Basically, this computer did the same thing. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. He had created this home system, and it had a name. It would speak to him. He would speak to it. It would start his coffee in the morning. It would, secure his doors. It did everything. It would order things for him, just like the things do today, right? That computer turned on that man. He had gotten sick and he was bedridden, and literally the computer was learning him and was isolating him from people. It would answer the phone. It would tell people not to come. It would lock the doors. He tried to escape the house. It would not let him escape. It eventually killed him in that house. And that has never left me as from a child. And there have been similar movies. Oh, the I, Robot movie.
Mm-hmm.
With Will Smith.
Yeah.
It's like these things, I believe some movies are predicting the future. And these are what ifs. I know these are like wild scenarios, but it's not far from happening.
No, well, here's the thing. And I think this is the thing that this conversation leads into, is the fact that this technology has been being developed for decades. Mm-hmm. So it is exciting and attractive for folks who love technology to want to make the technology smarter, because the theory is it will make our lives easier as humans, right? The challenge and the fear is that how do you then protect yourself from a thing that can think faster than a human? Humans, we have feelings, we have emotions, and machines don't have any of those things. Machines are programmed, right? So I think that becomes the big thing for me. And I think with hip hop, it's been happening throughout time. But I think with hip hop, it's particularly insidious because there aren't a lot of black people in tech at the tables creating these things. So the research that goes into this work, the programming that goes into this work, the biases that the programmer has end up being programmed into the code. The machine don't know no different. But the machine is fed what the person is fed, and the machine is now processing that. So that part, as it relates to people of color in general, is a problem. We have to be at the table.
That's exactly it. That's the part that I find very scary, because we're seeing this in intelligence, like your police departments. They're using programs to predict where crimes are going to be committed. And of course, they feed mostly black images and black demographics and about black people into these computers and into these programs. Again, like J. Ray said, causing a bias in the system to where even the computer is discriminating against people of color.
Yeah.
It's wild. And so the movie I was talking about, it was 1977. It was called Demon Seed. And the name of the computer program was artificial intelligence, was called Proteus. Yeah, Proteus became obsessed with the man's wife, and there's a really creepy scene because the woman gets pregnant and they don't know how, or she. Yeah, it's
Oh
really
my God.
creepy,
I've
y'all.
never seen this. I have to watch Demon Seed. We will make sure
Demon
that we
Seed.
drop that in the description. So Sir Daniel,
Yes.
you had this interesting anecdote around Atlanta that I thought was really interesting.
So, and we're referring to Atlanta, the FX TV show with a lot of our favorites, Donald Glover,
Mm-hmm.
Brian Henry Tyree, who plays the rap artist Paperboy.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this latest episode, Paperboy is Paperboy is what's the word? Is this gentleman meets him at a bar mitzvah that he performs at, and he is propositioned to teach his son. It's a white man, of course, and he was like, "I love what. How do you do that? How do you
How
talk
do you
like
do
that? How
what,
do you,
Sir Daniel?
that black thing you do? How do you do that? Can you teach my son how to do that?" And of course, Paperboy is automatically offended. But of course, the man says, "I will pay you $1,000,000." And so he rolls his eyes and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this." So apparently, the gentleman's son is a rap artist. He's no more than 15, 16. And so we are just a couple of things are happening here. So Paperboy, who is well into his 30s, is now confronted with this younger generation of rap artists who are, one, white, and two, who are super young. And the biggest slap of reality that he gets is that they have no idea who he is. And which is just like, he was like, "I'm Paperboy." And they're like, "Never heard of you, but okay." And so anyway, the crux of this story is that Paperboy, this other black former artist, is also hanging around with these young white kids in the studio, and they get to talking. And these black artists get together and they create this team where they figure out how they can remain relevant and still earn money by being around these teens. And it's called, you get yourself a YWA. And YWA stands for Young White Avatar. And I was like, that's brilliant. That is exactly what is happening.
That is exactly.
That is, the code has been cracked. The skirt has been lifted up. So that's what they've been doing, because a lot of these kids are making major money. We don't know who they are because we're adults and we're not listening to that. But they're tapped into the younger artists, and it seems like the only way that an established black artist can remain relevant is by tethering themselves to, in this instance, some young white avatar, some young white artist who, for whatever reason, is popular. And the only way that we can stay relevant is by tethering ourselves to that. And I thought, wow, here we are. We're about to have this conversation this week about the machines are coming and about how technology seems to be trying to erase black people from the music that we created. And boom, the universe drops this episode in my lap about the whole young white avatar. And I was like, that is amazing. It was amazingly put in that for that show and created for that moment. And I was like, that's actually quite relevant to what's happening today. And we didn't know it. We just thought, oh, these must be cool white kids. No, this stuff is being done on purpose.
Absolutely. And it's not new. That's the crazy part, is I think now we're confronted. So now we're confronted as listeners and as consumers of culture. And quite frankly, we are, the critics, we're cultural critics in our roles here on Q Points, is to, one, bring it to light, and then two, decide what to do with it. Right? Like, how do we deal with the fact that this is the world that we live in? And for so many of our artists that we love, this is probably a way that they earn money. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You are going to ghostwrite for this artist. You are going to get behind the scenes. You're going to make things happen, yada, yada, yada. And make it work for you. We've seen, where we saw this a lot. And we can go back to, it was when we were doing our show and we talked about our great value versions.
Yes.
Where the black
Snow.
producers, Snow,
And
all of
MC
these black
Shan,
producers would get behind and move and shake. And I mean, this is obviously, and I think the scary part about the AI aspect of it creating the artist, of it creating the lyrics, of it doing all of that is like Snow, like black people were behind those other people. Like, no. We're going to tell you what to say and how to say it, how to phrase it. That's different than the computer saying, I'm just going to create this for you. Because now whatever bias is in that computer is going to be fed out to us. It's different because we have a checks and balance. We got to say, you can't say that, computer. You can't say the N. So I'm producing you. You can't say the N word. Yep. So we just can't say it. Whereas the computer let FN Meka say it because they don't know no better.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's just a lot. So J Ray, I know that J Ray is, and he's not lying when he says, he's not exaggerating when he says he loves technology, and he has been checking out a lot of AI created music.
Yes.
And there is, if I'm not mistaken, there's a whole platform dedicated to AI created music.
Absolutely. In fact, so I dropped this, we have it in the description. There is a company that was started in 2016 called Ava. I believe it's Ava, but it's AIVA, and it's a technology company. And AIVA stands for Artificial Intelligence Virtual Artist. And what Ava does is it is specifically focused on classical music. It has been fed a lot of classical music. There's actually a number. I don't have that number in front of me. But what Ava will then do is it determines how to write classical music based on the programming and what it's been fed. So it's listened to and analyzed all of this music and now knows how to compose its own. So we have a link where you can go and listen to one of the songs that Ava has created. And I gotta be honest, when you listen to it, yes, you know it's electronic, but you don't know that it's computer generated, right? Because I think we have a vision of what computer generated music sounds like. And that's probably like craft work. This doesn't,
Yep.
Right. This just sounds like a classical song made with a keyboard. And I mean, honestly, Sir Daniel, there are so many programs on sale now that are all AI based. So there's AI based note taker tools. Mm-hmm. You could just put it in your Google Meet or in your Zoom. It'll take notes for you based on what you hear. There is AI tools that have been being sold for if you wanted to create original music for a podcast, like Cue Points. You can buy a program and feed it what you want that song to sound like, and the AI will create an original song, unlike any other song, just for your show. So I find that stuff interesting.
Okay.
Right? I find it interesting, but I do, like I said, I stop short when it comes to lyrical content and visuals, right? Mm-hmm. Because I understand that computers don't know how to make decisions about what's right and what's wrong. Make a beat for me, I'm fine. Like, go ahead, make a beat for me, computer. It's all good. But don't put no lyrics on top of that because I don't know what you're going to say.
It's missing a conscience.
It's
And
missing a conscience.
And we hear the word algorithm thrown out there a lot. What I am curious to see is when we have these human created visuals, human created images that are becoming pop stars and iconic. When they're created, but they don't have like a real soul to them, what is that saying to the generation that's coming up listening to them? Or, what kind of, I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but what kind of, like, when we grew up, we felt something when we heard Michael Jackson.
Yes.
And we felt something when we saw him. We felt something whenever we heard him speak, there was a person behind that. And now, what are they going to be getting?
Well, I mean, the reality is, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, they've turned Michael Jackson into a hologram. So I think I think we got to talk about our next piece of this conversation, which is spending some time talking a little bit about, how dead Black artists have kind of become pioneers in the hologram space.
Wow. Interesting. Well, we'll be right back on the other side of this break.
Absolutely.
You know what time it is, J. Ray? Listen, again, that was back in '85. Y'all know me. I'm a huge Gem and the Holograms cartoon fanatic, and the basis of that show was that Jerrica Benton's father created this computer.
Yep.
Called Synergy. And Synergy could create holograms. Synergy could create a hologram on somebody's body, on Jerrica's body, and she created a whole new persona called Gem. And was a whole rock star out there performing in this fictitious, very dangerous music industry because
right.
the Misfits
was so hardcore.
Like, the Misfits should have been brought up on multiple charges, including attempted murder. Like, seriously. But they're my favorites, low key. But yeah, it's so funny how, again, this art that was done back in the day, back then people were very obsessed with the future and computers doing things, very lifelike things, including creating lifelike images and holograms. And here we are with holograms. And I think the very first one that we saw performing on stage was Tupac. And I don't know about y'all, I found this to be quite, it was jarring. I wasn't amused by it. It didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me feel nostalgia. I was actually a little bit horrified, actually, when I saw it.
Yeah, so Tupac is the first hologram that has been kind of publicly performed. So here's some interesting history that I did not know, and probably because I was not interested in the Tupac hologram concept. Like, it was just not interesting to me. I thought to your point, it was weird. I'm like, can we just listen to his music? I don't need to see him projected I can watch him on screen. I don't need like a 3D thing happening on stage. Anyway, this happened because I didn't know this. And this is a quote. Hip hop impresario Dr. Dre had a specific vision for his headlining performance with Snoop Dogg at the 2012 Coachella. And so what he did was he instructed this company to recreate Tupac 15 years after he died, to be part of this performance. So that image that you saw was Tupac on stage at the Coachella performance where Dre and Snoop were. And the crowd, of course, lost their minds. I still think it's weird. And what I felt, and I mean, I guess the plus is Tupac's estate is doing well and continues to do well, right? So his mom, before she passed away, I think was probably able to, I mean, of course she didn't have her son and she missed her son, and was also, I think, able to at least live properly because of it. But the hologram thing is just a money grab to me.
Yeah, I don't think I really don't think a lot of thought and a lot of heart is put into it. I really do believe that the people behind these hologram specials are tugging on the heartstrings of the fans that still want to connect with a Notorious B.I.G., that still wants to connect with a Whitney Houston. And that Whitney Houston, that one didn't even look like her. The
Right.
Whitney Houston one was, I mean, atrocious.
It was. And I want to talk about this Biggie, because did you know that you were on Double XL, Sir Daniel? This is you on Double XL talking about the Biggie hologram.
Oh, wow. I think, did I see that?
I'll send you the link. So DJ Sir Daniel made the tweet list on there, because I didn't even really realize. I had heard about it many years ago, so I thought it just kind of died in the water and they just weren't going to do it. But it looks like as of this summer, because you tweeted about it as well, that they're doing it. And to your point, this Whitney one is weird. The Whitney one's weird.
Like this picture right here, it looks okay, but I think I've seen it in motion and it just, I don't know, it's just something it doesn't have. Well, clearly it's not going to have her essence.
Right.
I think they're really just taking everything at face value and trying to package that again to tug at our heartstrings, to evoke nostalgia and spend money to go to Las Vegas to have this enormous hologram performing on stage. And I don't know, it's beyond me. I'm not a fan. It doesn't excite me.
No, I think the only hologram that I expected to actually happen, like, I mean, Michael Jackson, I think, is just tailor-made to be, because so much of Michael's career was future-based. And I mean, you know, he championed this idea of immortality in so many ways. And you could always see him in the future. Like, Michael Jackson was probably one of the few artists, at least for me, that him dying was like, oh, he's like a human. Because you kind of forgot that Michael Jackson was like a person, because of the way he lived. And so the fact that there's a Michael Jackson hologram that would exist, I'm like, oh, I kind of get that. I get it.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you put it like that, you're absolutely right because Michael was always trying to preserve himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the cryogenic chamber that he slept in,
Oh, I don't think that
and
was
he's
real.
are you sure?
I
Because I thought that was proven that he at some point
It's
he was sleeping.
hilarious. He said it,
You can
leave me
tell.
alone. No.
You can tell I would read the Inquirer at the checkout stand when I was a kid.
Remember when Michael was always on the front page of the Inquirer?
Yes, and he always had like a man bat with him, where he or Bubbles the chimp was being held against his will, and all this other crazy stuff. But no, you're right. Like Michael was also living in the future. You know, if you look at Captain EO,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, you're right. His being, his love of things futuristic, and he was always ahead of the time when it came to his music videos. So, you know, this kind of makes sense. If he was alive, maybe he would probably be. And he hated touring. He
Oh
hated
yeah,
touring, so he probably would have used a hologram to be sent out instead of him having to tour. So this,
absolutely.
so in this instance, the hologram might have gotten a sign off and like approved. Michael
Right.
Jackson approves of this. And real quick sidebar, um, Tupac
Mm-hmm.
is actually one of the images in that "As If Nothing Happened" photo series,
Mm-hmm.
and they made Tupac look like he really let himself go. Like
Really?
Tupac would have,
I probably didn't even recognize that it was Tupac.
yeah, they made Tupac look like he was in his 80s when Tupac would have only been, if he were still alive now, Tupac would have been in his early 50s.
Right.
So he wouldn't have let, I don't think he would have let himself go like this photograph portrays, because
He
you know
was
he's
really
got
into
really,
fitness and Tupac was very
yeah,
into, yeah.
yeah,
His
they
looks were
had
very
him.
important to him.
Absolutely. They got this guy with saggy jowls, and you know, now granted the cigarette may have had some effects
Right.
on his skin because Tupac did smoke, but hey, you never know. But I just thought that was very funny that they decided to reimagine Tupac as a 50-something-year-old black man that looked like he was well into his 80s.
Yeah, that's weird. I'll go back and look because I think I probably missed that one. And was
Hmm.
specifically because the Michael and the Jimmy jumped out at me. So that's probably why I
Yeah.
missed it. But I think I'm with you in I don't like I don't I don't love the hologram idea. And I
Hmm.
do think it goes back to this idea of powerful people trying to wring black people dry, even in death. Like, we are going to make you work even in death, right?
Yes.
That's weird to
Absolutely.
me. And and
You
and I
don't
should
even.
and I should make a note too, real quick,
Hmm.
that now there are not just black holograms. Like, I think there's a Roy Orbison one, and there's like a Buddy Holly one.
Hmm.
But we cue points, so we talk about black people. And I am tired of the system wringing us dry.
You're absolutely right. Even in death. Wow.
Even in
Even in
death.
death, you are. And listen, those contracts do say this is in perpetuity.
In perpetuity.
So yeah, you're gonna be working in your afterlife, and if they've taken out, and the rumors are about these insurance policies being taken out on black artists, there could be some truth to that, and being worth more money in death than you were alive.
Can this is so off topic, but I feel like this is the perfect time to say it. Because it's going back to our show from last week. It's kind of related to these insurance policies and it's all of
Hmm.
that. I am sick and tired of rappers tweeting their thoughts and their anger. I need you to rap. I need you to pick up a pen and I need you to go in the studio and tell the producer to drop me a beat because I need to speak to artist whoever.
Yeah.
And so, because what happens is this Twitter beef leads to in-person beef, which leads these people to create these policies, right? Because it's like, I need you to just I need rap is the way out of these situations. Because listen, whoever's the best rapper is going to rise to the top. Like, you got a problem with somebody and you a rapper, don't tweet about it. I need you to write about it. And I need you to rap.
And that's that on that. The same thing goes for Cardi and Nicki. Ladies, enough.
I think King of Reeds said that. I think King of Reeds said something to that effect. Enough.
Both of you. And then the young lady that we hardly know from Atlanta, you stay out of it. You stay out of it. Because you got embarrassed. Big time. Leave that alone. Juice, you've been knocking on the door of fame forever because you want to rap, right? Well, rap. Make a song. I can't rap one of your songs because I don't know you. I don't know them. There's nothing on the charts. There's nothing for me to spin. So that's on that. And
I'm so upset. Like, I'm like, the reason why they take out these policies is because y'all didn't start shooting each other. I'm like, the people rap. I need you to rap. This is like West Side Story. I need you to get in the booth like Remy Ma did.
and go to it. Or stop calling yourselves rappers and stop calling it hip hop. How about that? J. Ray.
Oh, we gotta wrap up, but we have to give important update. Well, we have to send love out.
Yes.
To the stuff that is happening with the hurricane, and I know that we have folks in Florida as well. So just hoping that everyone remains safe. The people so far, folks that I am aware of are like, we're good. Some folks lost power, but I think they're getting power back. So definitely want to send love out there. And we got an update too on Jackson, from Mark McPherson. And so this update actually came into us last week. So it's an older update, but we figured that y'all might want to know. And so Mark says, good afternoon. I just wanted to provide an update on the situation in Jackson. Much of the system is currently back up to full pressure thanks to temporary pumps and filters at the primary water treatment facility, the O.B. Curtis Water Treatment Plant. The state of Mississippi at that time had lifted the boil water notice and claims the tap water is safe to consume. However, Mark said, myself and many fellow Jacksonians are still relying on bottled water. I get it. Because we do not trust what our state leadership is saying about the water. I feel you. We also still experience periods of water that is brown or green, has an odor, tastes awkward, or is gritty. This is America. We got to do better.
Wow.
This battle may be drawing close to victory, but there is still a tug of war of getting all the resources to Jackson and fix Jackson's issues and address the city's needs. Thank you so much for dedicating space on the podcast for discussing the ongoing Jackson water crisis, and please continue to support our community here. We are tough people with a history of activism and social justice, but we will always need a little help from outside. Thank you, Mark. Oh, we love you, Mark.
Absolutely. And again, we're sending love and prayers to everybody in Florida and all the other states that this hurricane could affect, because it's 1 minute it's dying down, the next minute it's going back up to a hurricane, to a full-fledged hurricane. So even in Georgia, where it's getting ready, of course, by the coastal areas, but even in the inner parts of Georgia, we can still feel the effects with the winds and everything like that. So it's going to be dicey for a couple of days, folks. So just be prepared, get you some water while it's still available, and
support each other too. Like, I think that's the big thing. Like, these are the times when, you got to help your neighbors out. Like, know what's going on and just support each other.
Absolutely. Well, J. Ray, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the music play. I am Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, y'all.
And this has been Q Points, dropping the needle on music history. Peace. We'll see you next time.
Peace.